And we are live. Amazing. All right. So thank you for doing this. Amazing to meet you. I'm really looking forward to this one because I have no idea who you are, and I'm sure you have an amazing story, and I'm sure you have lots of wisdom to share. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I'd love to start with this week, or in these days, what is it like to be you?
Well, it's the last quarter, as you know, and so I know a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, feel the same pain that I'm feeling with trying to make sure you reach those goals that you set for the year, trying to
Yep.
plan for the next year,
Yep.
and trying to maintain now.
Yeah. So would you say it's a lot of work these days? Like you're catching up with the rest of the, so it's very busy.
It's very busy. It's
Okay.
always busy, but it's like the extra pressure of closing this quarter out,
Mm,
closing this year out, having reached your goals, especially monetary goals. And then to top it off, on top of it, you have to plan for the next year.
yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you're
Okay.
doing three things at one in one quarter. In one quarter, you're doing all layers, three layers.
Okay. So what keeps you busy? You said it's always busy. So what keeps you busy in life?
So let me introduce myself, okay? My
Yes.
name is Virginia Dale Manning. I live in Houston, Texas. I'm from Beaumont, Texas, which is like an hour and 15 minutes from Houston. I am a mental health therapist. I have a practice. I have a location in the Houston area and also have one in the Beaumont area. I went back to my community. And so I provide mental health services. That's my 9 to 5. And on the side, as part of my niche, I have a women's community called Prosper Under Pressure, where we talk about how to empower women, where we give tips, tools, all of those strategies for professional women, especially moms, of how to excel and thrive in their career and their home lives at the same time.
Okay. Amazing. All right.
That's
Mental
a lot.
health. Yeah.
Mental health.
That's a lot. Mental health. So we can have an amazing conversation about mental health because I work with mental health as well. So
Oh, you doing okay?
what got you to get into mental health? Why?
Okay, so here's my why and my mission. So in 1994, December 1st, 1994, my mom committed suicide on her third attempt with her
Wow.
psychotropic medications.
Wow.
So she was going to not a therapist, she was going to a psychiatrist. She had severe depression from grief after her mom passed away. And
Mm,
so she was dealing with that with all those years and taking her medications and we were younger. So we didn't know too much about what was really, really, really going on, right? I knew she was
yeah.
going to a psychiatrist. I knew she was taking medications. I never really saw too much depression because, depressed people and suicidal people usually are happy people. They're
Yeah.
masking the pain on the inside, so you never really couldn't tell on the outside. So she
Yeah.
was always a happy person. But as a kid, not a kid, I'll say, well, yeah, as a kid and into my early 20s when she completed a suicide, we never really knew what was going on. And I feel like, which is what my mission is why I'm a therapist, is that the education piece is important.
Mm,
Because if you don't know, I mean, you can't really, not saying you can stop people from committing suicide, because if they kind of like want to do it, they'll probably more likely do it. But if you could support them and you know what they're going on and you can have empathy and you can have those conversations, it may lead them not to feel so depressed, first of all, and also not to feel like suicide is their option
yeah.
because they
Okay.
don't have people to relate to them. Because, if you're not educated, you can't relate with it.
Yeah. So, what was your journey right after? Mm, Obviously, it was a hard, heavy experience. How did
I'm
you? How
sorry, say
did
it
you?
again.
Yeah. How did
How
you
did
yourself process that, and move to being, you know, struggling with it, or this happening, to moving on. Okay, I'm gonna help people. I'm gonna transform into an educator and into a therapist and into hosting groups and doing everything you do
Well,
now.
so I'm a pretty spiritual person. So when I was what's the word, evolving into the person I am today, I never really connected it to her. I was
Mm.
just following, God's plan, right? Okay, go to college, get an education, because I was a former English teacher for several years, and from the school, from the classroom, is where I went to be a school counselor, and it didn't work out for me because I couldn't get hired. And so I'm like, well, forget this. I'm not gonna let them put barriers on me. And I went to school to be a school counselor, and I can't get in. But it's just like part of the plan of your life, right? Barriers are for a reason because it's guiding you to where you need to go. And so I didn't trip over it or anything. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back to school. I needed 3 extra hours to do the LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor. So I went back and got the 3 hours. And then I went on my journey to become a licensed therapist. Not really connecting it once again. But then once you get into business and you think about being a business owner and entrepreneur, what people always say, oh, what's your purpose? What's your why? What's your mission? Why are you doing this? Like that's
Yep.
gonna fuel your success. And so
Yep.
then, right, you got that too, right?
Mhm. Yep.
They always say that niche and your purpose, like those things are like that's business entrepreneur mindsets. And so that's when I really started kind of thinking like I I do have a purpose, a reason. And I started my mom had mental health issues. And I think that over the years, from my early teens into my late 30s, I never really just sat there and thought about her suicide because I was grieving as
Mm.
well, right? So
Yeah.
when you grieve, sometimes you don't want to sit and think about
Mm.
the grief. And
Mm.
so for all those years, I was just going. I was just working, going to school, taking care of kids, doing all of those things. And then once I became that entrepreneur and people were pushing that in my face about what's your why, then it made me think about it. And
Mm.
then to this day, I have a book that it's written, which lets me know why I'm still dealing, processing her death and everything I went through from my trauma as a kid with her mental health. And so I wrote a book. It's called Set Apart, and it's talking about my journey living with a parent, my mom, who had mental health issues as a kid, and the childhood traumas that you experienced that I never thought about until I started writing this book, that you experience from a family member who has mental health issues.
Mm.
And so I wrote the book. The reason why I say is I wrote the book, and while I was writing it, I really realized I'm still being trauma. I'm still in trauma. I haven't even put the book out yet. It's written, like I like to write out because I'm an English major, but I haven't published it yet because I'm still dealing with those
Mm.
things that I wrote that I never really thought that was still an issue for me.
Right. Okay. I think those books or these kinds of writings are the best, right? When you
Hmm.
first of all, it helps you become more aware and process things better, but also the text itself, it's real. It's not like, oh, look at me, I've made it, or I've done all of this, but like, no, like, this is what I'm experiencing, this is what I've experienced, and you really get into the trenches. So I would just say, don't sit on it for too long, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect to publish it and put it out there. Like, you can always write a second version of the book, right? You can
Edition.
always you can always like make a sequel in a way. Like, hey, by the way, this is 5 years later after I've published this one. This is what's happened since, and like an update, and
That's a
that's
good
how I look at
idea.
it. So,
That
and
is a good idea.
yeah, that's how I look at it as well. Like, because with me personally, like, I'm still 24, right? Like, I started writing or started making content, I started being in mental health, helping people with social anxiety, because that's my pass, right? Like I used to have severe social anxiety, couldn't
Hmm.
speak to people, got bullied, all of that. And then I did a lot of work on it, and you know, a lot of self-education and healing and learning. Because I'm from the Czech Republic, where small town, small inner industrial town, very old school mindset of mental health issues don't exist, just get over it. And
Hmm.
you know, looking back, and of course, like since I started learning about like practical psychology and stuff like this in my early teens, I saw like what my parents they had issues, and it really showed up, especially in their relationship, and a lot of
Uh-huh.
fights, and a lot of like, you know, all of this, and communication problems, and a lot of patterns that I started seeing. And I'm like, well, this is coming from their trauma, but they don't believe in any of this, they don't understand any of this anyway. So
Right.
um their mindset was just get over it, you know, don't be alone. And and so I had to go out and actually start figuring it out by myself, googling how to be happy, googling what is social
Mhm.
anxiety, googling what is depression, googling what is mental health, and did a lot of this work. And then I started helping people with mostly the similar things, right? And why I'm sharing this now is because I'm writing a book as well, and I want to publish it as soon as possible, as basically as soon as I finish it. Because the reason is I know that in my life, like in the next probably 50 years of my life, there's going to be
Uh-huh.
so much more to write about, and there's going to be so much
Absolutely.
more like work that I do on myself, so much more research that I do, so much
Mhm.
more like work with clients, and I discover more, right? So I could
Mhm.
always tell myself, well, you know, maybe I'm gonna wait another year because I can put so much more into this one book. But then I could be saying that for the next 10 years and there's not gonna be any books. So I would much
Right.
rather just publish a book and then make updated versions, or like publish 5 books, that and then the fifth one is like the most amazing one, and the four ones kind of build up to it.
Right.
At least that's kind of my attitude towards this. And I think
Yeah. And that's good because, like you said, you'll have other experiences over the years, and that could be, the second edition, the third
yeah,
edition, the
yeah.
sequel, and things like that. So yes, and then what you have to say now, people need it now, and then when you write the
Yes,
next book, the people gonna need it at that time, and then the next book you write at that time is when the people in need to hear that voice at that time. So that's perfect.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. People need it now, and I see it so much, especially because I'm in the space, and I think, you know, this is where I can ask you, compared to how many people struggle and how many people are there to help and really know how to help, how to hold the space, how to support people through it. What do you think is the ratio?
Well, I think that today's time is more diverse with people who can help,
Mm,
because that gap between finding a person that you really connect with, that you feel comfortable with, so you can connect and get the help. I think that gap has slimmed down, has lessened. But I think that a lot of times with therapy, what I tell people all the time now is that when you, like, say you approach a therapist or a psychiatrist or someone as you, a thought leader, as yourself, that if that person doesn't fit you or doesn't speak to you or doesn't, bring about the change that you feel like you need, then search for a different one. Like, don't stop because, you know, just say a African American male came to me for therapy, but he came to me and he like, oh no, she talk more like about women's stuff or whatever, right? My suggestion, I wouldn't take it offensively. I would be like, I respect that because you do need to find the therapist that you match, that matches with you, and that talks to you and gives you the tips and advice that you feel comfortable with, so you can produce the change that you want, which is the most important thing, is to get with the person that's going to produce the change that's going to make your life better.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Those are great points. I think I've heard two things pretty commonly these days. Is one, I have to wait for like 3 4 months before I can even see anybody. I
Mm-hmm.
just recently spoke to somebody in the UK, I believe, and they were like, "Well, I really want to talk to somebody, like, and I'm on a waiting list for like 4 months before I can talk to somebody about. I mean, that's like pretty sad, right? So
Hmm.
so that needs to change. Another thing that I hear a lot is I didn't like the therapist. Like I finally got there, and I just didn't like the therapist. So of course,
Uh-huh.
if you don't connect with them, they like you cannot help. And then on the opposite side, I see people maybe getting into coaching, or people who've struggled with mental health themselves, and then they kind of figured out a way, and then they're like, I don't know, like maybe there's like too many people already who are doing coaching or therapy or whatnot. Like, maybe it's not for me. Like, absolutely not. Like, go out there, start now, because people need the help. Like, there's so many people who struggle these days, and I think now, because it's becoming kind of more um out there, meaning there's less stigma, right? Or this
Hmm.
less like my parents be like, just just get over it, like that doesn't exist, that's just in your head or whatever.
Hmm.
um and it's like a lot of people who used to be very judgmental, I think now is becoming more open. So
Right.
definitely go out there, and you have to search a little bit, right? If you're struggling and you're like, okay, who do I talk to, who can help me, you have to
Hmm.
search a little bit to see who's going to resonate with you. And yeah. What would you
And then don't stop with the first one that you didn't match with, because after that
mm,
they're like, oh no, therapy is not for me. I'm
mm,
never going back, because they had that one experience. But I mean, you have the freedom and the right to find the one that matches you sometimes. And people even stay with the ones who don't fit them because they feel like they can't move. Yes, you can find a therapist that matches you. And another thing, like, it depends on if they're using their insurance or EAPs or whatever. These days you can ask for the type of therapist that you want, right? You can
okay.
ask for if you want a male or female, the specific um topics that they specialize in, whether it's depression, anxiety, relationship, whatever, Christian, non-Christian, uh gay, lesbian, whatever you want, you can ask for that, and they should be able to connect you with one that fits your needs.
That's great. Okay. That's really good.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah,
the
get your
the
needs
more
met. Hmm.
the more support and the more help and the more personal these things get, the better, of course, for
Absolutely.
everybody involved. So
Absolutely.
if somebody is struggling, what do you recommend them to do? It's like, yeah.
Well, first of all, I love self-assessment, right?
Mm,
So you should always, and there's different levels to the self-assessment, right? Like, but
mm,
every day I think you should reflect on yourself. Like, what did I do well today? What was good? What was not good? What do I need to change? What do I need to do more of? And that
mm,
would help streamline a lot of the toxic stuff we deal with every day if we would just assess the pros and the cons, the healthy, the unhealthy, the negatives, the positives, whatever, however you want to approach it. And then stick to the healthy, stick to the positive, set boundaries on negativity. Like, once again, you do not have to sit in places that's not for you, or places you're not comfortable in, or places where it's toxic. Like, remove yourself, and you can do it respectfully. Like, I tell people all the time, you can do it respectfully. People feel like, oh, we're gonna fight. I have to curse them out. I have to be rude to do it. No, you don't. You can remove yourself from toxic situations respectfully.
yeah. Mm, okay. How do you do that? How do you remove yourself from toxic situations or even relationships respectfully?
Right. So first of all, that's a part of that assessment, right? Assess the situation. What's the
Mm,
pros and what's the cons? And then whatever the cons are, like, set boundaries. Like, okay, so I tell this is an analogy I use all the time with my clients. So if I have a toxic person, it could be a friend, co-worker, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, and they're toxic. And sometimes people have to study a little bit about what toxic is, because sometimes you've been in toxic so long you think it's not toxic. So, that's why people stay too. It's like, oh, my mama did it, my grandmother did it, all these people
yeah.
had these relationships, so I think that's normal. No, do a little research. But so if you know you're around a toxic person, and I don't like when people say, I don't teach the practice of totally eliminating people out of your life, especially if they're a
Mm,
family and close friends. That's not realistic, because then you'll be feeling guilty and all of that stuff. So Set boundaries. In other words, if I have a friend and we go to the grocery store, we having a good time. We talking about the fruits, recipes, we laughing, enjoying things. Everything is nice and healthy. Fine. But when we go to the mall, she's cursing the checkers out. She's, going through the mall, just being negative and having issues with everybody that we go, we're around or whatever. So guess what? I'm only going to the grocery store with you. And you don't have to tell
Mm,
people you're doing this because they try to talk you out of it, right? They're gonna cause more conflict. So I
yeah.
say, okay, so when my friend call and say, hey, let's go to the mall. No, I'm busy right now, but hey, let me know when you're ready to go to the grocery store again. Then I'll go to the grocery store with you, right? That's setting a boundary. And they don't even know
Okay.
what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You setting boundaries. Like, I'm not gonna go to the mall with this person because that is toxic. I do not want to be around that. But I'll go to the grocery store with her.
Mm, yeah. Okay. I like that. I like that. That's true. That some people are like that, like based on the environment, based on the activity. Okay,
Hmm.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Holidays, we about to Thanksgiving is about to come up, right? And I know, it's these holiday blues and everything going on, and people scared about family gatherings and the crazy auntie and the drunk uncle, and they're like, oh no, I don't want to be around those people for Thanksgiving. But that's a part of setting boundaries once again,
Mm,
because before things get toxic, just say me and you talking. Say if we were toxic, right? I would know when you're about to get toxic. So say, you see how you have your hand like that. So say if that's the point where I know you about to get toxic.
yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I know when he about to do that, I have to go home. It was nice seeing y'all this Thanksgiving. Cause I already know when you do that, oh, you about to blow up.
Okay, okay.
Right? So it's those signs that you see, or the first word they say, they may about to say a word, or when they have two or three too many drinks, and okay, I know what's about to happen when they have that next drink, so I'm gonna go home
Mm,
before it blow up
mm,
or whatever. I had a nice Thanksgiving. I want to keep it nice.
yeah,
So you can remove yourself, right? You don't have to. You like go be nice, be respectful. Hey, how y'all doing? Have some dinner, whatever you do for Thanksgiving. But when when it's about to get toxic, remove yourself.
yeah, okay. Yeah, counter drinks, especially.
Uh-huh. Count the drinks.
Yes.
Hide the bottle. Do something.
Hi, yeah, with when alcohol gets involved, it usually can get pretty bad. So yeah, definitely that's a good point as well. And
Mm-hmm.
look for the signs. I like that. Like,
Yes.
okay, I know what's about to happen because we can spot patterns, right?
Uh-huh.
We can always
Absolutely.
read patterns and you can predict it. It's not like all of a sudden, they've done it for five Thanksgivings and then all of a sudden the sixth one is gonna be completely different, like out of nowhere,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Probably not. So
Probably not.
okay, that's great. For me, I would say, well, first of all, removing yourself from the situation. Me with my family, like that's why I moved away as soon as I could, right? And it's not,
Mm-hmm.
again, not cutting them off completely, but and this is my experience. I give this advice usually to younger people who are struggling with similar situation. Not cut
Mm-hmm.
them off completely, but remove yourself, and then the time. So when we used to be every day together, we would fight like all the time, on a
Mm-hmm.
daily, weekly basis. Now,
Right.
after I've lived away and I come back, let's say every few months or so, and we talk a lot less, that time that we spend together is much more quality and much more focused on like just bonding instead of fighting, because I think subconsciously even we both know, or both parties know, like, okay, we only have this limited time together here, right? Do we want to spend it with arguing about dumb stuff that we disagree on, or do we want to just like have a good time, have a laugh, you know
Mm-hmm.
share what's happened in the past and since we've last seen each other, and then move on? So
Right.
sometimes spending a lot less time with somebody but focusing on more quality helps so much. And
Right.
then
Quality over quantity.
yes, exactly. And then another thing that maybe this is what I want to ask you as well is, what if you really cannot remove yourself? What if you're in a situation where, at least for the time being, let's say, of course, on a more longer time scale, you can remove yourself, What if you just okay, like I just have to stick through it. Like I'm an 18-year-old who is still in college or still in high school, whatever you're finding yourself in, and you're like you want to move out, for example, but that's not really an option right now.
Right. Well, it goes back to what you said just now about less time. Like instead of studying in your room all the time, study in the library where it's quiet or at
Mm,
Starbucks or something, right? Remove yourself out of the toxic situation as much as possible. Yeah, you have to sleep there and your clothes are there and whatever else, that you have to have at that house, but everything else could be outside. You can limit your time. And as they say, distance make the heart grow fonder.
hmm?
Distance makes the heart grow fonder.
Oh, okay, yeah,
I know
yeah.
see, I aged myself probably, but hey, distance makes the heart grow fonder. What you were saying about how you had to move away. The less
Yes.
time we're around each other, then we care about each other more because we want that quality time together because we've been missing so much time from each other. We miss each other.
Yeah. It definitely, yeah, it's in my experience, that's definitely helped a lot with my family, especially because
And
it used to get pretty bad.
mhm, distance makes the heart grow fonder. Yeah, that's an old
mm,
saying.
I love that one. Okay, that's awesome. Another one that I would add is I kind of learned and I started learning, especially when you get into business and especially when you get into the online space and you
Hmm.
start making content or you go on podcasts and you do this and there's people who are trolls and haters and all of this negativity kind of sometimes floods your way. Like I remember many times where I would post this like super wholesome like post about how I overcame social anxiety and how I help others, and then out of nowhere there's just like so much hate, right? Or people even before when I started saying I'm gonna build a business, I'm gonna travel the world, I'm gonna do all this, and people would be like, no, you're not, who are you, and all of this. I started looking at it as like I didn't take it on, but instead I just let it flow through me. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
say whatever you're gonna say. I'm just gonna stay like stay present and not
Hmm.
react to all of it. So I'm not feeding into it. It doesn't create that argument. They say whatever they want to say, and then they're like, there's nothing more for them because they're
Right.
not getting the reaction out of you, right?
Absolutely.
And then what else are they gonna do? They're just gonna move on, right? And so
Yeah.
that's been a
Move on
very
to the person
helpful.
that entertain it.
Yeah. If you don't entertain it, if you just don't react, and you're like, yeah, whatever, or maybe just time will tell. And that was kind of my attitude later on, right before I moved on, like right before I moved away.
Uh-huh.
And so that's been very helpful for me too. Yeah.
Well, one thing, another caveat to that is that sometimes when people are giving their criticisms, they might be delivering it wrong, right? They might be, yelling it or saying
Mm,
derogatory things. They could say it better. Let me put it like that, right? They could say the same thing but say it better. So I tell people all the time, like sometimes don't take things personally like that, because sometimes they helping you really, right? Now I say that because look at what they're saying, right? Now, and they don't have to know you doing this. They don't have to get any glory for this, but they gonna know that once they see the results, that hey, your criticism actually helped me. Because if it's true, that's a part of that self-assessment. Self-assess yourself. Oh, they said, you know, they didn't
mm.
like my purple shirt, right? Because it didn't match my skin tone, whatever. Like, and is it true? Did the purple shirt not match your skin tone? And if it didn't, then I mean that's wisdom for you. Like, oh yeah, I do need to change that purple shirt because it didn't look good on the screen. You don't have to tell them you're doing it, right? But if it helped you for some personal or professional development, thank you, negative person, whoever you are. You think you're hurting me because of the way you said it, but you actually helped me because now I look good on the screen. I changed the
Mm.
purple shirt. And if
Okay.
it's not, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I like that as well. And if it's actually that's very important. Again, like and I talk about this sometimes as well, like taking some of that responsibility really helped me with like the switch when I became from like the victim into like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna recreate my life in bullying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like people calling me names and calling me a weak or calling me super skinny and whatever. I'm like, oh, well, hold on. Well, they're kind of right, like I am like weak. I can't speak up for myself. I can't say
Mm-hmm.
anything. I am
Mm-hmm.
like super skinny. I don't have any muscle. Like, oh, maybe I can do something about this actually. But I like the point where like, sometimes what, people even mean really well, but
Mm-hmm.
then the way they said it, they just want to give you like actually positive feedback, or
Mm-hmm.
positive feedback in a negative way. So
Right.
but they say it in a way because a lot of the times people don't really know how to communicate effectively. So the way it comes across is like real hate, but in real, like
Mm-hmm.
for the with the purple shirt, for example, right? Like it could actually, the person might mean really well and they want you to look better on camera for your video.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but because the way they communicate that, you kind of like, oh, what a hater, like that hurts, because
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
hating on, they hate my t-shirt or whatever. um
Absolutely, absolutely. It's your perception of it and how you take the criticism. And another thing about criticism too is that sometimes when those criticisms come at you like that, that means you're on the right track. Because if
mm,
you wasn't on the right track, they wouldn't have a reason to criticize you.
mm,
They wouldn't have a reason to tear you down if you wasn't up.
yeah, I
So
love that.
sometimes that's how I take it too as a compliment. I'm like, wait a minute, nobody gave me a criticism. I'm not doing enough. Because I need some
Yeah,
people to criticize me because that lets me know I'm on the right track because you want to break me down.
yeah,
So you're on the right track. If people coming at you and criticizing you, you're on the right track. If you was getting no criticism, that means you're not doing anything.
yeah.
And
Okay.
most of the time, it's going to be family and friends. So don't think, oh, it's my family and friends. They're the ones that should be supporting me. No.
I love this topic, and I think it's very important. I want to shift to maybe to the other side of it, because we talked about like the negative people and pulling yourself away. What
Uh-huh.
about, how do you build a community for yourself? How do you find and how do you create amazing friends? How do you, instead of, if you're removing yourself from these negative people or these toxic people, sometimes just negative, sometimes toxic, how do you then find new people that are going to be your supportive community, your tribe, people that you vibe with, people that you lift each other up?
Okay, so first get out of your mind, like I just said, that it should be family and friends, because a lot of times it will not be.
Mm,
But what are the things that you like? Like you like psychology, right? You said you took a psychology course. So did you join the, I'm just making up some names, psychology uh uh community of America? Are you part of that community? With people who are like-minded,
mm,
that you can, go to a couple of meetings, the Christmas celebration, the whatever, and be around people who are more like you so they can understand you. What are your hobbies? Right? Do you
mm,
like um swimming? Join a swim team, or be a volunteer at a swim, for kids or community or whatever. What is it that you like? And do more of it. Do you have a pet? Go start going to some pet training conferences or something like that, right? Where other people have pets. So first of all, you have to know yourself. That's a part of their self-assessment. And then
mm.
once you know yourself, then you go out and you connect to the people who are more like you. That's even with dating. I tell people, you want to find your good mate, go places where your hobbies, and then that person gonna like the same thing that you like because they at the same event. So then y'all more likely to connect better.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
and what's your profession? Do more organizations connected to your profession. What's your hobbies? Do more activities or organizations that's connected to your hobbies. What you passionate about? Go volunteer at that place that has to do with whatever you're passionate about. Like me with the mental health thing, I do a lot of mental health stuff, organizations and communities.
Mm,
I volunteer a lot at a lot of different, mental health types of things.
yeah.
I like reading books, so I join book clubs.
Okay. I really like that a lot, and I think not enough people do that. And
Mhm.
maybe I just had this idea. Um, so I was like writing it down as you were speaking as well. I would say a lot of us, especially as we get into adulthood, but even as kids, most of our relationships and most of our friendships come from coincidences,
Mhm.
right? Like I make friends. I have all of these friends because they were my classmates, or he was like sitting next to me in class, so we became friends. Or, like we have the same internship, or we have the same job, right? And
Mhm.
we create these relationships based on just a random situation that we find ourselves in, find the person randomly. What you touched on like a little bit is, well, you want to go out and find the people that you actually want to find, right?
Mhm.
And I would say, I don't think, very rarely hear people talk about this. Definitely not in the norm, maybe in a little bit of the self-help space, but I've heard people talk about it a lot in the dating scene, but not really in friends. Like, really sit down and define who do you want your friends to be, right? Like,
Mhm.
what kind of energy do you want them to have? What kind of interests do you want them to have? Do you want them to, and so really define of like, who are the friends that I want to have in my life, and then it's
Mhm.
much easier to go and find them, because even
Absolutely.
your brain will start paying more attention. And that's how I
Mhm.
met my some of the best friends, and how I built my community. Is like, I already knew what I was looking for, because I'm like, okay, I know I'm not look and it's not enough to know what you don't want, because a lot of
Mhm.
us know, especially if you're coming from like toxic environments, or you don't really enjoy your family because they're negative and they're trying to bring you down and they're causing you pain. Like, okay, I don't want to be with my family, I don't want to be with the friends, I don't want to be with with my coworkers who are bullying me or making fun of me. Okay,
Mhm.
go on the flip side. Who are the people that you do want to hang out with? If you only focus on what you don't want, that's what your brain will see, and you will be
Mhm.
stuck in it a lot more, right? But if
Mhm.
you have, okay, I'm looking for positive people who are really into personal growth, who, want to go out into the mountains, they want to go hiking, they enjoy
Uh-huh.
nature, they enjoy solitude. Okay, now I can go out and find them, and then if if I'm in a coffee shop, waiting in line, and I overhear somebody, my brain more automatically overhears somebody like, oh, like I'm so looking forward to the hike that we're going on Saturday. You can then go and
Uh-huh.
like, guys, oh my god, you're going on a hike on Saturday. Sorry to interrupt, but like I just overheard it. Like, is this like a community thing? Like, can I join?
Right.
If you are bold enough and if you have enough courage, and that might be a whole
Mhm.
other thing. But then
And
your
then if
brain,
you just listening to it, you can go find the activity yourself. You don't have to, like, if you don't want to be rude, or you not or you're an introvert and you don't want to talk, then just listen to it. I call it ear hustling. Just listen to what they're talking about and then go research that organization and
yeah,
then you can join.
yeah. So yeah, absolutely. I think this is very key. This is very important. And I think not a lot of people emphasize this. I had also an idea recently about social health, right? Because we talk a
Mhm.
lot about mental health, and obviously
Mhm.
there's a lot of talk about physical health, but
Mhm.
I would say it's very rare. Maybe it's just that I haven't been in the space much, but as somebody who's been working in social anxiety for 4 years, to never really
Mhm.
hear about social health from other people, I think, if it's more out there, um, maybe it would be more out there. But so, what do you think about social health? How much of a role does it play, especially with people who are dealing with mental health problems? If they fix their relationships and the people around them, how much of an effect does that have on mental health and overall life?
Well, probably the reason why you don't hear so much about social health, and I like that you coined that term because that's something to start using is social health, right? Like mental health, physical health, like what you said. That's good. That's good that you coining that term. But also, like, and the other word that people really use synonymously with it is relationships.
Mm,
And like you were saying about people being intentional about finding the relationships that's nurturing to them, which people don't feel like they have the right to do that. They feel like, oh, I was born in this
mm,
family. This friend told me hi. I go to this school, so I have to talk to the people that's in this school. I'm on the football team, so I have to mess with all of the football team members. They feel like they don't have the right to be intentional about who they connect with and who they give
Mm.
their energy and time to. Energy and time is precious. COVID taught me that. Like, if it didn't teach me anything, it taught me that my energy and my time is super precious, and I need to be wise about who I give that to. But
Yeah.
some people feel like they don't have the right to make choices like that.
Wow, that's very powerful actually. Like really shifting from, wait, hold on. I have the right to choose who I want to be with, who I want to spend my time with, no
Hmm.
matter where I kind of started, what I stumbled into.
Right.
Mm. Mm-mm. Okay.
Because,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
like if you in a class with somebody, yeah, you have to be in class with them for 50 minutes or whatever, right? But you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to talk to them the whole 50 minutes. You might be stuck with them in a group exercise. Yeah, I have to work with you in a group. Yeah, like there's those barriers like that, right? But they're only temporary because you have an objective. Okay, if I'm in a group with you and I really don't vibe with you, I have to be in a group because I need my grade.
Yeah.
So that's intentional. Like I have to, be cordial with this person for this 15 minutes because it's part of my grade. And then I move on to my other group of friends who are more intentional.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So as
Okay.
they say, life is choice driven.
Life is choice driven. Totally.
Choice driven. You could drive your life by the choices that you make. You in control. People don't feel like they have control over a lot of things, and you really do have control over a lot of things. Now I tell people too, how people have childhood trauma, and I'll use myself. Like as a kid, my mom had her mental health issues. I had no choice but to be there because I'm a kid.
Mm.
She
Yeah.
paid the bills. She had a house. I have to stay there and be immersed in this stuff. But once I become an adult, I have a choice.
Mm.
And the choice, a lot of times people choose to keep bringing that toxicity with them. And so their whole life is just consumed with that toxic childhood. Or you could have a healthier choice and say, hey, that's not how I want my adult life to be because I didn't like it as a kid. So as an adult, I can make the choice to change that thing around.
Yeah.
Will it take work? Absolutely. But it's possible. You have choices.
Yeah. Let me ask you about, so okay, there's two things. We have like about 10-15 minutes left. There's two things that I wanna bring up. First one is learned helplessness. And the second is we can shift maybe towards a little bit more entrepreneurship and starting your business and what you're doing over there, and maybe you can tell us more about your book and other things as well. But I think you've probably heard about learned helplessness, right?
Mhm.
Do you see that a lot?
Well, I mean, it's different dynamics of learned helplessness, right? It's like what I said about, as a child, you in this toxic environment, and so then you feel like that's normal and natural, so you continue it throughout your adulthood, and you don't know any better because of lack of education. So you think you're fine.
Yeah.
So, but there's this other the codependency part, right? Where sometimes people don't know how to be independent because as a
Mm,
child or even in adulthood as teens or whatever, you've learned to always let this other person make your decisions, or you've never really had the opportunity to think and be a thought leader. And so now you always feeling like it's these other things that you have to depend on instead of being independent and being choice driven and living a life that you want
yeah.
and being happy and free instead of staying in this toxic cycle of whatever you got stuck in.
Yeah. So what if somebody is like really like, I feel like I've tried everything and I'm just like stuck and I cannot do anything, like nothing's gonna help me anymore. Like nothing can help me, this cannot change.
Well, my first assessment is first, what have you been doing? Because I mean, how I know is like quality stuff you've been doing, right? You could have been listening to I don't know, something that's not even healthy for you, right? And you thinking, oh, just because the podcast say how to help learn helplessness, you automatically think that's the one. You have to have credible sources,
Mm,
right? So it's first, check your sources. Well, no, let me go back. First, assess yourself.
yeah.
Then check your credible sources that's going to give you whatever goals you've set after you assess yourself. And then, like, don't be limited. Like, if you listen to one person, and actually you have multiple mentors and multiple podcasts and you got multiple things. You don't have to be stuck with one. One person might, reach you because they connect in that other area. And then you might need another person that's going to help you connect in a different area. So have a variety of people that's going to match your goals.
Yeah.
Never feel like you confined and stuck, to one thing and one person. I know, is it a loyalty thing? Is it people want to be loyal? I don't know. Or it could be to learn helplessness. It could be I don't know. I don't have any choice. Somebody could have, put that in
Yeah.
their head that they don't
Yeah.
have any choices.
Yeah.
So, it really kind of goes back to what you were saying about the learned helplessness. But,
Yeah.
once again, once you become an adult, you do have the power to change things around.
Yeah. You can always choose almost anything in life. You can always choose almost anything, and I heard this quote recently where we can wrap this up with saying, what you are not changing, you are choosing. Right? So
Hmm.
sometimes it feels like, oh, I don't have a choice, but like before, because you are choosing not to change it, you're choosing to keep it. And
Absolutely.
I think that can help as well. Just really pondering that and feeding your mind with some of these positive, constructive ideas. It doesn't matter what they are sometimes, and it can be as many as possible. And sometimes I've seen that people have this like stage of. I had this stage as well, like the first 2 years of figuring out how to overcome my social anxiety and how to like really get myself out, like do my own healing. It was a
Hmm.
lot of just listening and learning this completely new world from
Hmm.
that I never really heard of before. And it took me like 2 years of just consuming these ideas and working on my habits and working on my physical health and working out a little bit more and doing all this before I was like, okay, I'm ready to like really go out there and start really challenging the social anxiety and start talking to people and putting myself out there, overcoming my fears and whatnot. So sometimes just feeding your mind with some of these more positive and constructive ideas that can help you out, um, can start the change as well. So
Hmm.
if anybody's listening to a podcast like this, to a conversation like this, you can already be on an amazing path to change anything that
Absolutely.
might be bothering you.
Absolutely. And
On
then
the
sometimes, people they get stuck in the pain. But like you
mm,
said, once you learned more about it and you learned how to heal yourself or whatever, then you started giving it to other people.
yeah,
It's that transformation.
yeah, okay. So in terms of the entrepreneurship and your journey with writing a book and now putting out there and going on podcasts and stuff like this, how's been your business journey?
Well, it's never easy. I love it though, which makes it easy. If you
Oh,
look at the technicality and the little steps, it's not easy. But when you
mm,
love what you do, it's easy, right? Because if it's hard, I'm going to do it because I'm just so passionate about this. And failing on what I love to do is not an option.
mm,
Failing to help people overcome what I overcame is not an option.
mm,
So once you have that type of mindset, because I'll never say it's easy. It's anything you try to do is going to be hard. Anything worth doing is going to be hard. And it depends on, I don't mean hard like, oh, I can't do it type of hard, but it's like you're going to have things coming against you that's going to try to stop you from getting to your next level, which I would consider hard, but it's not really hard. It's just like every time I'm doing good, here goes something trying to stop me from, those types of things, right? When you're on a roll, you're like, yeah, I'm doing good. Then
yeah,
bam, here's that
yeah.
thing. Like, oh, now I got to stop and put this fire out. No, it's taking my time. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Do it. That's the best part. Proving to that barrier that you can't hold me back.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I like what you said. Failing at this is not an option.
Not an option.
It's not an option. And that's really how you completely not only overcome but like completely annihilate the fear of failing, right? And that's a lot of what stops a lot of people is, oh, what if I fail? What if, I start this and I fail and it doesn't work out, whatever. Like, but if you say no, like it's actually not even an option and I will keep going until I figure it out, no matter how many
Hmm.
setbacks I have or no matter how hard it gets sometimes, that's where you like failing actually becomes like it's that's not an option to fail because you always
Right.
keep going. And I
And
think
then
that
it
that
becomes
that's
your new
wonderful.
habit. How I overcome this? How I overcome this? You have to
Mm,
have make it sooner or later become your new habit. To where
yeah,
now your life is just I'm just overcoming everything. Nothing can stop me.
yeah. Also, in this like overcoming everything and starting to be an entrepreneur, a big mindset shift that's definitely helped is starting to focus on solutions rather than the problems, right? And then
Hmm.
it's it's really amazing for me to look back or speak to somebody who's like hasn't really made that shift. So I really see the difference of like how I used to think before and how I think now. It's like
Hmm.
if anything comes up, like my brain immediately goes, oh, I can do this instead, or I can do this. Whereas people really get stuck on the problem, like, oh, like I would want to do this, but I need this, maybe this certification, or I need this. Oh, I guess I can't do it then because this is an obstacle. I'm like, okay, well, how can I do that? Oh, okay, well, in
Right.
order to do that, and then you're just like solving problems so quickly when it becomes like an internal habit. So definitely focusing on the solutions and saying failing is not an option is like this killer combo that you it's like a great toolkit of an
Hmm.
entrepreneur to have. Mm,
Hmm. Instead of thinking that you'll never have any problems, I know sometimes you never realize that other people are having problems because they really don't discuss them. They just keep putting out the fires and keep going. So it's
mm,
very rare unless they write a book about it or you have an interview with them that you
yeah,
hear of the problems because people are just going. They like,
yeah,
I don't have time to sit in sorrow. When I know something is happening, I find a solution. I take care of it and I keep going. So that's why you never really hear too many entrepreneurs just sitting around sobbing. They don't have.
yeah,
They know we don't have time for sorrow. We got to find a solution.
yeah. There's no time for that. It's
No time for that.
just go and solve it. Yeah.
Just go solve it.
Mm. All right, amazing. What a great conversation. Absolutely loved it. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom and your energy and your story as well. Who should be reaching out to you? Who are the people that need to have a conversation with you?
Well, anybody who wants to have a conversation, I'm just playing. Well, I'm in the mental health space, right? And most of my clients with depression and anxiety. I'm in
Mm.
the Texas area. I'm licensed in Texas, I'm licensed in Atlanta, and I'm licensed in Michigan. They can connect with me in on social media at Virginia Dale Dale Manning Manning. All of my social media hashtags, and then if they want other information, it's probably on my social media site anyway.
All right, amazing. All
Mhm.
right, I will also tag that. Um, you can also send it to me, or I'll figure it out, and I can tag it in the description and then put it in the notes as well on Spotify once that's up when it's up there. And yeah, so thanks for doing this. Would you have any closing statements or closing remarks?
No, I just love this platform and now hearing your story as well because social anxiety is big, especially in teenagers in high school. They have
Yeah.
social anxiety. I have a grandson who deals with social anxiety a lot. He has
Mm,
social anxiety with the family. You can't get him to talk about any of his problems, and I'm a therapist.
yeah.
So that's how real I know it's real. And it's a great thing that you're doing. So keep on doing it and
Thank
don't let
you.
anybody deter you from it, and you just keep reaching as many people as you need to reach.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And yeah, this has been really lovely. I'm looking forward to seeing more of you and staying in touch as well. And I'm thinking of a few people actually directly that I've had a conversation with that I can share this directly, like send them the link to this. So I think they can benefit a lot from your um, insights. And last thing that I will leave you with is Publish the book. Publish the book.
See, well, I in the month of December, I already marked out a week to get that book done. So I already did
Mm,
that. So by
okay, let's go.
January, it should be on and popping.
Lovely. All right. Well, maybe we can in a couple months, once the book is out and everything, we can do like
Hmm.
even another episode and talk more specifically about the book and all of that. But it's been really lovely to talk and getting to know you. And yeah, have an amazing rest of the day.
You too.